You are watching Xirtus.
So Zelensky tapped spirit cooking artist Maria Abramović, who cut pentagrams into her stomach, as new ambassador for Ukraine schools. Cool.
This was
What?
already apparently 1.5 years ago, but I was like, I can't even say anything about it, to be
I
honest.
mean, yeah, it's like how fitting. C'est la vie. Yeah, that's exactly what you'd expect to
Because
happen.
even if I want to have a popular artist or something like that, wouldn't at least I choose someone whose art is naturally appealing to the eye? I mean, I know
It
ever since
depends on
the
how
last,
Slavic you are, and Hungarians technically aren't Slavs. I don't know what
uh,
to tell you. I mean, this is. I would do this as a joke. I think this is hilarious, kind
yeah,
of.
of course, if this was like a satire site, I would be like, oh, that's a great one. But like this, and knowing the history of Ukraine, knowing
God. Yeah, what they
yeah,
do to
all of
kids
those
and
things we talked about
bloodletting.
it, and
Yeah.
that it's, I think, one of the only countries, if I remember this correctly, where you can legally adopt a child, but in a way that the fact that it is adopted and the original mother or father will not show up in the system again ever anymore. It's like one of the only places where you have these like special arrangements possible, and there's many more dark things there which I don't even want to get into now. But I was just like, yeah, literally, like you said, is this a joke or what is this?
I mean, yeah, taking care. I mean, granted, I think some things have changed in Ukraine in terms of same-sex adoptions or transgender parenting. You're not supposed to transgender your adopted kids or something like that. I think they had some rules about that more recently, but things are changing. Yeah, okay, and I hear you, Ziga, low-hanging fruit, because you can talk to David Plate about this. He thinks that she's basically messing with the elite because she knows what they're into, and so she's doing this art to kind of make fun of them to some extent. I don't know how far you go with that either direction. It seems pretty interesting that someone who does spirit cooking for kids, I mean, like would be in the Ukrainian education department, especially after Zelensky's been putting people through human sacrificing basically for the last several years. And yeah, I mean, how many people in Israel aren't even Jewish because they were brought to Israel from the Ukraine in the 90s, in the early 2000s? A lot more than you might think. Some weird stuff going on with the disappearing of people and the
Russian
lack.
Jews, Ukrainian
Well,
Jews.
yeah, sure, but not all of them are Jewish. That's the irony. A
Well,
lot
you
of
said
Ukrainians
that just now, but not all of them. Yes, not all of them.
that's the correct number to bring up on a show like this. Oh, it's okay. Spirit cooking,
Yeah,
and here's Maria
nothing
Abramović being kind
nothing
of.
to dwell on. Just one thing I want to bring up again is that she literally, if you scroll down to her awards, I think it should even be listed there.
I'm not allowed to say anything negative about this person because she's Serbian, and I feel like I have a bias, and I have to pretend to be open minded. Even. All right, let's see. Awards. Award. There we go. Awards. Golden Lion. Which one? The Austrian Decoration for
Exactly.
Science and
Yes,
Art.
yes.
That sticks out.
I think I had
Oh
brought that up
God.
before at some point, and I God knows how she got that.
Probably
But
because who had to die? I'm just kidding. But am I though? Am I kidding? You don't know.
so I'm like this. Even just knowing this does not make me. Not that I would ever be eligible, but this does not make me want my national decorations anymore. If I know this is the type of peer group that
More
you'll be in.
eligible than Maria Abramović.
Well, if it were a system based on,
Here, this is probably a good list to
I
go
don't know
through.
what.
We're gonna have to go through a list of these people who got the award. I bet you they're all Freemasons, like this Zoltan Hal Sparks guy. Okay, and then wow, Venus the Dancer.
Yeah, so this was brought to my attention by David Beebe, who is, I am pretty sure, knows Chinese and is often bringing up interesting points. Also, recently, when we spoke about briefly the Korean and Chinese and how they may be similar or not and all of that. And here just pointed out because recently on a David Ewing Jr. interview, we spoke about the idea that apparently even somewhere in Pakistan or whoever else, they literally have programs which is like basically climate change, and they call it gender studies, but you could also say climate change and gender change outreach program or something, somewhere in the desert or somewhere in Africa or whatever. And apparently, I guess it somewhere relates back to the UN. This is just my guess now. I haven't looked too deeply into it, but what doesn't relate back to the UN? Basically, you go to countries which would have little to nothing to do with this idea of changing your gender or whatever else. You put up these charity supposed programs, and then you funnel certain individuals, which in my mind at least, may even just accept, maybe they don't have the most straightest sexuality or whatever. I wouldn't speculate on that. But of course, it makes you prone to slide into that ideology if you can see, oh, well, if I agree to that, if I change my gender and everything, then I become someone important, or at the very least, I can leave this country, which I'm in, which maybe is not developmentally on the highest rung of the ladder, if we speak of Africa or certain other places. And I just find this extremely crazy. And, instead of helping people to have water supply and be able to start small businesses and whatever else, you educate them about climate change and, women's rights. Maybe that's what they say, but ultimately also related to gender change. And apparently she was one of the first, like, transgender or whatever, in this case from China, that got high up in that whole level, as you can see her here on the World Economic Forum even. So
Her
that's
debut
one.
film was in Resurrection of the Little Match Girl. Crazy. Korean
So that's
movie.
one way you can move up in the system. Just, change your gender or get your child to change your gender and then start, I don't know, dancing at the World Economic Forum or whatever is going on exactly. So
She was censored for criticizing Vladimir Putin in 2022. Interesting. She's adopted 3 children. At the age of 33, Jin adopted a son and then 2 other children she raised by herself until her marriage in 2005. She married her German husband, Heinz Gerd Oitmann, in 2005. She currently lives with her husband and children in Shanghai. Crazy. Recognized as one of the BBC's top 100 women in 2017. Interesting.
there you go.
Wow. Why are men so much better at being women than women? Pick it up, women. Come on. All right, CCG Trader. These are some of my favorite cards. Oh, this is like the whole list of them all too, eh?
Exactly. Cool. So, because finally, again and again, I was searching for certain cards or something, and you usually only find these very pixelated, super tiny images. But here, if I saw this correctly, you may actually have the whole list in an acceptable resolution.
Yeah.
Not only
a
of
watermark,
these,
but yeah.
Right. Although I heard people are now starting to use the newest Google LLM to remove watermarks from images. That was like a random message I saw somewhere. So,
Nice.
But yeah, I think here you have the whole list, and maybe at some point we should even go through them one by one. I just wanted to put it into the link list so anyone who's ever interested in it, here you can see, I think, all of the cards of the original 1995 set or whatever it was by Steve Jackson Games. And yeah, many things already have come and gone that are captured in these cards.
The California card is so funny. California, all your media groups have +1 power.
Yeah.
Adorable. All right, daylight savings time. Something that kills more people than most. I'm not even going to go there, but you know what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I think we're through it by now, but if you scroll down, I wasn't even aware of this. I think only when we're doing many shows with Jim for Team Rabbit Hole, and I'm sure we also stumbled over it at some point. There is a great site called worldtimebody.com. If anybody ever needs to synchronize over different countries, you can go there exactly, and you can put in exactly where you are, and they keep the proper timing even if there's daylight savings. But going back to that wiki page, did you know, I mean, how insane is that daylight savings time, first of all, that it even still exists? The official story they gave us in Europe about it was, it's to save energy in the afternoon or the morning or whatever, so we adjusted 1 hour so we use less power for electrical lights or something. If you can believe that. I mean, as long as the pipeline to Russia is open, I doubt we would ever have issues with with energy prices, but it's supposedly a remnant from like the post-war time or something like that. But the crazy thing here is, as you can see, they literally, or Palestine even gets a special slot, they literally put different countries to switch the time on different dates. where I'm like, how much more insane can this get? It's crazy enough that you have this at all. But then if you have it, at least synchronize the change to one day, one time all over the world. So everyone knows, okay, after that day, I have a new time relation to other countries or whatever. But no, they like space it out over whatever time period. It's like, wow. I'm sure there's some jobs created by having this. It's insane.
It's completely insane. Daylight savings time needs to be stopped. It's like one of the most dangerous things. People literally have
funny
health
thing
effects,
is, this
right?
is one of the few. Yeah. Also, yeah, and of course, children having to go to school too early is not good for teenagers' metabolism and all of that, and circadian rhythm, and no one cares about that. I wanted to say something else.
Yeah, studies have found an uptick in heart attacks and strokes right after the March time change. It's crazy, right? Daylight savings time switch literally kills people. We gotta stop this. It completely screws up your biorhythms.
So I believe there was like some referendum or survey or whatever within the European Union about whether or not to abolish daylight savings time. This was one of the few things that supposedly got through with like over 80-90% approval. And I think this was even somehow citizen involved or whatever. But don't worry, they didn't change anything so far, you know? So this is the state of our democracy today.
Xirtus.